Well, g'day and welcome to your Australia, the Ultimate Travel Guide, a TAG virtual vacation Vimeo that's been brought to you by your destination specialist travel advisor. Now, the top 10 reasons to only use a travel advisor are as follows. They bring you peace of mind, give you great customer service, they maximize your budget, they give you better choices, they can save you time, it's their personal service, their insight and expertise, they give you assistance with documents, they are your advocate on the ground, and they've got some great industry contacts, which brings it all together. They are truly your mate, and a mate is a person who makes Australia travel easy. Now, to make it easier for you, they've put together this Australia travel planning kit. Of course, part of it is this video. They've also put together a little Australia travel planner. Now, the planner is all about putting the fun back into travel. Everything we're talking about right now in this presentation is actually covered here in a little list that you can go and tick after to make sure that you select the things that you want to see and do when you travel down under. There's also a few questions in there, like how long you're traveling for, who's going, and what time of the year you'd like to travel. So you'll need to complete this and give this back to your travel advisor. Let's head down to Australia now. Australia itself is made up of 6 states and 2 territories. From the west, you've got Western Australia, South Australia, then there's the island state of Tasmania. Going north, you've got Victoria, New South Wales, and Queensland. The 2 territories are the Northern Territory and the Australian Capital Territory, which is home to Canberra, our capital city. The whole population of the country is 25 million, and most of those people live around the coast. Now, weather-wise, you'll find there's a Tropic of Capricorn that runs through the centre. And the Tropic of Capricorn, north of that is very tropical. So Cairns, Darwin and Broome up in the top end, that's in the tropical zone. The tropical zone really has effect probably from, say, November, December, January, February. It's a little high humidity. But air conditioning reigns supreme. And so in vessels going out to the Great Barrier Reef, in your hotels, you'll find air conditioning works very, very well. In the heart of Australia, in around Alice Springs and Uluru, this is the red centre. And this is the desert style climate. So in summer, it can be a dry heat in summer, average median temperature about 90 degrees, can get over 100 though, and then in winter is more likely 70 degrees. So with that, it's quite, at night it can cool right down even further. So when you're traveling in the outback, you need to wear clothing that you can layer on and layer off as you need. The southern part from Perth in the west, across to Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, Hobart, this is a more of a Mediterranean style climate. So you're going to find that the actual weather through here, they do experience summer, winter, autumn and spring. So when is summer, winter, autumn and spring? Well, you'll find it's in reverse to what we have here in North America. Summer is December to February, fall is March to May, winter is June to August, and then spring is September to November. Now, with regards to the country itself, you'll find that getting around the country, it's quite a large island. And as such, if you were to arrive in Sydney and think you're going to drive to Alice Springs, that's like arriving in Florida and driving out to Denver. That's a big first day. The beautiful thing here is we've got some great airfare and great airlines that bring it all together. Great international airlines, of course. We've got the likes of Qantas, United, Air New Zealand, Fiji Airways. There's a whole array of airlines that your travel advisor can work with to bring it all together. And then, of course, when you arrive in Australia, we can connect you again to make sure we bring the country together. At the same time, too, there's lots of ways to explore if you like to self-drive. All you need to remember is left is right and right is wrong. And we can guide you on making the right choices there. In each of the regions, there's some great regional tour operators, small group operators that really bring about personal service and great insights and expertise as a local. There's also some great guided touring experiences that we can also bring together, as well as train travel. Now we'll start with Sydney in New South Wales. Sydney's got a population of 5 million people, and the whole of New South Wales is 8 million people. And for those that would have watched the opening of the New Year's celebrations, Sydney is always the one with a spectacular fireworks display. If you're considering going down to Sydney for New Year's Eve next year, then I would consider organising that with your travel advisor now. It happens to be one of the most popular times to be in Australia. Sydney itself is one of the most amazing cities. It gets just better every time I come here. You've got the beautiful Sydney Harbour Bridge. The area down in here is called the Rocks. Circular Quay is through here, where all the daily commuters are coming in on ferries into the city. Out here on Bennelong Point, you've got the Sydney Opera House. Behind that, the lovely Botanic Gardens. Now, the Rocks area is a lovely historic area. Cobblestone streets, pubs and restaurants, and lots of colonial history and heritage. On the weekend, the markets are just fabulous. Friday and Saturday is quite a popular time, and I always recommend clients that you organise a little guided or private tour when you come to Sydney, just to get the sights out the way. So you can kind of be taken around to places like the Opera House. I mean, the Opera House is just amazing, and a guided walk into the Opera House will give you some great insights into the actual inner workings. Maybe even get to see a show, a performance while you're there. Something we highly recommend. Then the restaurants in Sydney that sit around the actual waterfront are just phenomenal. There's some great dining experiences, and once again, a little Sydney foodie tour is a good way to connect the dots, to make sure that you're not missing out on a thing. Another way to enjoy the harbour and enjoy the cuisine is out on a lunch or a dinner cruise, out with people like Captain Cook or perhaps a small ship cruise. We can customise the itinerary to suit your needs. Now, to walk that off, you can actually look at doing a little bridge climb. The bridge climb itself is a phenomenal way to take in the sights. The best time to do this is sunset and sunrise. That's when the light is the prettiest, and it's also the most popular time. So once again, talk to your travel advisor and make sure you lock this in early, because the photographs you'll get of Sydney are just sublime. Now, leaving from Rose Bay is a little Sydney Harbour seaplanes. And these planes will take you up over the Harbour Bridge, the Opera House, out along the beaches of Sydney. There's Dee Why, Curl Curl, Manly Beach, named after the manly men that Captain Cook saw when he first sailed into Botany Bay. Of course, another beach location that everybody likes to visit is Bondi Beach, which is the birthplace of the Australian surf lifesaver. Now, if you want to meet these guys, the easiest way to do it is take a surf lesson. Yep, that's right. There's a great little operator here that takes you out to learn to surf with some Aussie surf lifesavers. It's a great way to connect. And speaking of connecting with Aussies, nothing like meeting up with Australian wildlife. And you can do that at the Taronga Zoo. Kangaroos and koalas, all sorts of nocturnal animals. And I've got to say, staying here now is also an option. You can actually stay at the wildlife retreat. And as you can see in that photograph, you get gorgeous views also of the harbour back towards the Opera House and Harbour Bridge. So it's a great location to stay as well. Now, here you are in the bustling metropolis of Sydney, and you get picked up by this smiley Aussie girl in a four-wheel drive vehicle. She's taking you into this wonderful bush that's only about an hour and a half west of Sydney. It's an area called the Blue Mountains. Now, it's called the Blue Mountains because the pungent aroma of eucalyptus just flares your nostrils, a lovely smell. You're looking here, it's called the Jamison Valley. It's a bit like the Grand Canyon, but it's covered in trees. It is truly a special spot. Here you are sitting in a clearing, having some morning tea, having a cookie or a biscuit, a bicky as we say in Australia, and here you are with a coffee, watching kangaroos and cockatoos, and then maybe dropping into a wildlife sanctuary to meet up with a few more wonderful marsupials. Then going north of here, you head up to the Hunter Valley, also about an hour and a half. The lovely thing about the winemakers up here is they believe life is just too short to make bad wine. So you can save us some good product. You can also stay up here during the festival season when there's food and wine festivals. It's a fun thing to do, to go and meet up with Aussies. They really are very welcoming. Going further north to the easterlymost point of the coastline of Australia is Byron Bay. Now, Byron Bay happens to be a place where a lot of Aussies like to go on vacation. It's a great place to do a little surfing yourself, a beautiful beach scene, and there happens to be a big festival at Easter called the Byron Bay Blues Fest. If you want to visit Byron Bay for a festival, then this is something with local and international acts. It'll just blow you away. Then we head to Victoria, going south. We cross the Murray River into Victoria. Population of Victoria is 6.5 million and Melbourne's 4.8 million. And Melbourne is this wonderful eclectic mix of humanity. People from all over the world make Melbourne home. It's got the largest population of Greeks outside of Athens. It's Vietnamese, Chinese, Italians. It's just got a certain vibrancy. It sits there on the Yarra River, and you've got this wonderful scene of old and new buildings. It's got quite the connection with the US as well. In fact, back in the 1800s, the gold rush in California collapsed, and this was one of the richest cities in the world because gold was discovered just outside Ballarat. And yes, this became quite a popular spot for Americans to come down. In fact, the oldest baseball clubs outside of the USA are found here in Melbourne. And another thing about Melbourne is the lovely cafe culture. They love their coffee in Melbourne. In fact, Starbucks has only failed in 2 cities in the world. One was Rome. The other one was Melbourne, because the coffee here is fabulous. And to come to Melbourne and do a walking tour and discover the laneways and arcades, it's truly a mystical way to kind of take in the inner workings of this fabulous city. And to be here in January, right now, in fact, the Australian Tennis Open is underway. And we love our sport in Melbourne. You'll find that all sorts of events occur here. The Aussie Rules football, which starts in April, goes all the way through to September for the grand final. If you want to meet Aussies, you want to get a feel for the culture, nothing like going and checking out some of their sports. Formula One Grand Prix in March. There's also golfing with kangaroos. They've got some fabulous golf courses down here in Victoria. So if you're looking to play golf, you want to meet wildlife, well, you can do that here too. Not just on golf courses, but there's some wonderful sanctuaries too, like Moonlit and heading down to the Koala Conservation Centre, which is on the way down to Phillip Island. Now, Phillip Island, apart from seeing koalas in the trees here, you can actually go into the actual coastline and see penguins parading up beaches. It's here on Phillip Island, right on sunset. Up to 2,000 little penguins come marching up the beach. It is one of the most beautiful natural scenes you'll ever see in your life. Now, there's a gorgeous coastal drive you can do called the Great Ocean Road along the Shipwreck Coast, which is quite special. It's a bit like the Big Sur Drive, except it's got some amazing scenery with the 12 apostles. Should be called the 11 apostles because one's gone swimming, hasn't come back yet. But it's an amazing coastal region, and you can do this as a day trip. You can also add on and maybe even take a self-drive. This is not a bad place to then go from the coast and then head inland to the Grampians National Park. The Grampians itself you can actually get to it as a day trip if you want to go and check out the wildlife in the wild, or you can do an extended stay and do some bushwalking and hiking up through here. Coming back into Melbourne, you go via the Yarra Valley and perhaps do a little hot air balloon over the Yarra, a little wine tasting. The Yarra's got some fabulous wine areas. In fact, Melbourne itself is surrounded by some great food, wine experiences. There's great spa experiences. It's a city itself that provides great opportunity to explore. We head down to Tasmania, the island state, population of 500,000 in Tassie, with about 224,000 in Hobart. Now, Tassie's got 3 main themes of tourism. They are history and heritage, wilderness and wildlife, and food and wine. Hobart itself, sitting on the Derwent River, you've got these buildings here, hand-hewn stone buildings built by convict labour. On a Saturday, they have the Salamanca markets, which takes in some of these warehouse buildings, these lovely old stone buildings. You're sitting outside here, some great fairs, some great craft work. And Hobart itself is open to some beautiful museums like Mona, Museum of Old and New Art, quite an eclectic mix of art that's found here in Mona. And Hobart, I mentioned food and wine, and the thing about Tasmania, it has the cleanest air in the world, and because of that, I believe it's affected the quality of the water, the quality of all sorts of food sources. So you're going to find the gins, the whiskies, the wine here is fabulous, and so is the seafood. And a little cruise out to Bruny Island will give you the opportunity to savour. You'll be seduced by the incredible seafood that is here on the shoreline of Tasmania. In fact, you'll get a chance on this little tour to see the seafood and also wildlife encounters as well. Now, as far as that colonial heritage, Hobart and Port Arthur was the convict settlement, and it's here that you'll actually hear harrowing tales of what it was like to live back in those days. And you'll find yourself, as you explore the island, doing a little self-drive perhaps, through Richmond and Ross, little towns like Strahan, you'll hear these colonial stories. You'll also get a chance to get close to the wilderness and wildlife. For example, from Strahan, you can do a little Gordon River cruise. And this section of Tasmania is pristine, untouched wilderness. In fact, they say that a good 2/3 of Tasmania is just that. It's like this big factory of gum tree that's pumping out incredible oxygen, and places like Freycinet National Park, where you can go kayaking and have wildlife just on the rocks. You'll see kangaroos. You can head across and do a walk, Maria Island Walk, which is a 3-night, 4-day walk, and you'll see wombats just without even any care for human beings whatsoever. You'll see wombat. You'll also go up to Cradle Mountain National Park, where walking around Dove Lake, you'll head back to the main lodge and get yourself ready for dinner. And as you're walking around this lake, keep your eyes open because you might spot one of these, a platypus, an egg-laying marsupial, a monotremes. There's only 2 monotremes in the world, and I'll show you the other one soon. But here, after spotting a monotreme, you'll head in and have some fabulous food and wine around a big open fire, a hearty feast, and you'll step outside and in darkness you'll spot little possums bringing in flowers. You'll hear this sound before you'll see them. It sounds like this. Tasmanian devils. Yes, Tasmanian devils are found here as well. These are quite an amazing marsupial. It has a pouch. And yes, you get. They say there's no bones found in Tasmania because the Tasmanian devil's like a mobile garbage disposal unit. They kind of clean everything up. We head from here to Tassie to South Australia. Adelaide's got a population of 1.3 million, and that's where most of South Australia's population is. A total of 1.5 million live in South Australia. And Adelaide itself is designed by Colonel Light as a parkland completely surrounding the city centre. And right in the centre of that city is the Adelaide market. Now, food is the essence of life, and wandering through this market, the lovely pungent aromas, sweet, sticky tropical fruit, the heady smells of fish and poultry, and it's just, and the lovely din of a good market, the lovely banter, to do a guided walk through here and to take on the city itself, perhaps walking down the cultural boulevard of North Terrace, wonderful museums and art galleries, and then perhaps finishing up with a little walk over the Adelaide Oval. It's got this fabulous roof climb you can do. You're harnessed up there. You can actually watch a game of Aussie Rules from above. It's just phenomenal. Now, they call Adelaide the 20-minute city because within 20 minutes you can be cuddling a koala up in the Adelaide Hills. You can be heading up to the Barossa Valley, savouring some fabulous wine. The Barossa would be considered Australia's wine capital, and South Australia produces something like 50% of the wine that is sent internationally. Penfolds Grange is one of the top wines of the world. It constantly rates up there with the 100 points, and it's here in the Barossa that you can encounter all sorts of food weekends, gourmet weekends, and it's lots of festivals that occur. Also up through the Adelaide Hills, Claren Vale, there's some fabulous wine regions. Now, going from there across to Kangaroo Island, looking for the namesake, the Kangaroo Island kangaroo. Now, these guys are darker faced. They say that Aboriginal people left Kangaroo Island about 10,000 years ago, I should say, and it's meant that the kangaroos really don't understand what humans are all about. In fact, I had a kangaroo just hop in my car. Now, the only way to get a kangaroo out your car is open up the other door to make him hop all the way through. And you'll have a chance to actually be with a guide and be taken around on a small group tour to enjoy the bush, to see the wildlife, to see the bird life, and a chance to really savour those moments of seeing animals in the wild. And it's here while you're enjoying a little barbecue, an Aussie barbie out there amongst the red gums with the liberal splashes of Riesling over some whiting. It's a lovely fish that's found in Tasmania and South Australia. And you'll find yourself here, all of a sudden there'll be a rustle, and you'll follow the guide and you'll spot an echidna. Now, the echidna is one of these monotremes, an egg-laying marsupial. This is like a dinosaur, and they lay an egg, and the egg hatches. Out comes the baby. It's called a pug, and it lives in mum's pouch, and then eventually, when it starts growing those spines, it gets booted out of the house and fends for itself. Seal Bay is a divine spot. Under the guidance of a ranger, you can actually walk amongst Australian sea lions. And staying out here, the luxury lodge, the Southern Ocean Lodge, is a divine spot to base yourself to take all this activity in. Going from Adelaide, flying across to Port Lincoln, which is considered the seafood capital of Australia. It's here you can wander through and savour all sorts of oysters and fresh seafood, and at the same time, maybe even take a dive in that ocean and swim with friendly sea lions, and in a cage, perhaps swim with sharks as well. Yes, they're great white sharks are found here. In fact, they filmed Jaws. A lot of the real footage was actually shot here off of Port Lincoln. Going north of Adelaide, we head up into the Flinders Ranges. This is South Australia's outback. They call South Australia the Wow State. It's wine, wilderness, and outback. And yes, it's just an amazing spot here to actually take in the outback with a lovely bushwalk and see big red kangaroo. In fact, getting into the outback, a rail journey can be a great way to travel. There's some fabulous rail journeys. Going north, you can hop on the Indian Pacific. Will take you from Sydney to Adelaide and then across to Perth, or you can also hop on the Garn, which will take you north up through Alice Springs and Darwin. And the beautiful thing about trains is you get a chance to kind of meet Aussies when you're on board. This couple, of course, are travelling together, but you'll get a chance to mix and mingle with other Australians. It's a fabulous way to get a feel for what Australia is all about. Heading up into the outback, where you go up all the way to Darwin, the top end, and you've got Alice Springs and Uluru in the red centre. Population of Darwin is 140,000 people, and Darwin itself is this wonderful city. It's actually very close to Bali, and people from Asia. In fact, you'll feel that when you head to the Mindil Beach markets. You'll find there's Malaysian laksa, and there's all sorts of food that's kind of coming from Asia that's found its way to our Australian shores. It's also up here that you can do a fabulous sunset cruise out on the harbour, and it's from Darwin that you'll actually take off on some true outback safaris. An outback safari taking you into a place like Kakadu National Park, where you'll be exploring a little yellow waters cruise, spotting all sorts of birds, the jabiru, and maybe a saltwater croc or two. Now you can actually stay in a croc. This is the Kakadu Crocodile Hotel, being built in the shape of a crocodile for the Aboriginal people of the region here. So the Indigenous folk actually requested the hotel be built in the shape of a crocodile. And you'll find in Kakadu and in Arnhem Land a chance to get very close to the Indigenous culture of the Australian peoples. Over 50,000 years of Dreamtime lore and legend, and perhaps staying at a wild bush luxury Bamaru Plains, where inside that tent it's completely one-way views. From inside there they can see these water buffalo wandering past. They can see these agile wallabies belting it away together, having a little bit of a tussle outside. You can also do some great touring from here. You can do a little a boat, an airboat out into to photograph the birds and the plants, and maybe do a barramundi fishing. I mean, some great opportunities here to explore. North of Darwin, you can head across the Tiwi Islands for this immersive Indigenous experience, a chance to meet up with the Tiwi Islanders and learn about their culture, and of course also their wonderful artistic prowess. They are fabulous artists, and it's world acclaimed. A chance to perhaps take back some wonderful souvenirs from the Tiwis. Going into the red centre, we've got Alice Springs, which is a service town for the outback. It was originally set up as the Overland Telegraph Station, but it came to service town for things like the Royal Flying Doctor Service, which provides doctor for little planes flying out to big outback stations. And of course, those families living on outback stations need to be taught. So we have Alice Springs, the School of the Air. So teachers set up here, and they've got their biggest classroom in the world. Little kids all over the outback of Australia. Now, getting up early in the morning here for a little outback balloon adventure will take you out over as the sun's rising. Big red kangaroos are pushing up dirt across the outback of Australia as the hot air balloon floats across. I mean, you can see the curvature of the earth on a good day. When you set back to land, you can drop into the kangaroo centre and meet up with some of these big red kangaroos. And then head from there across to Ayers Rock Resort, where you'll see Uluru 5 miles away from the resort. Now, the resort itself has everything up from 3-star all the way to luxury. And you can finish the day with a little cocktail as the sun sets at Uluru. I mean, the rock itself is taller than the Empire State Building, and it's 5 miles around its base. And right there off on the horizon, you've got the domes at Katajuda, and you can do a walk through these domes. It's called the actual Valley of the Winds, and it's a fabulous way to kind of get those legs stretched out, and then come back for outback sundowners on top of an ancient red sand dune. You've got the haunting sound of didgeridoo. You're enjoying canapes and cocktails. All of a sudden, a chef appears and gives you a little toast, and you follow him down the sand dune, up another one. On the other side, you've got a Sound of Silence dinner under a 40 million star restaurant. A fabulous fare, wonderful opportunity to take in the stars of the Southern Hemisphere, and a chance to learn a bit about the actual area. From there, we'll actually go for a walk through the Feudal Light, which is an artistic installation of all these wonderful, colourful lights. Now, there's two ways to tackle the Feudal Light. You can do it at the end of a lovely dinner, or you can get up very early in the morning while it's still pitch black outside, and do a little walk through the field of light, and then wait for the first rays of the sun to hit Uluru, because it's like a match has been lit. It just kind of gets on fire. You're talking about a rock that's taller than the Empire State Building, and once it becomes completely glowing in light, then you can actually do a walk around the base of the rock with one of the local Indigenous peoples to learn a bit about that culture, that Dreamtime lore and legend, and maybe even savour some of the bush tucker. That's the witchetty grub on the right hand side. You got to spit their heads out because they get caught in your teeth. But a real nutty flavour, especially when you roast them on hot coals. We head across now to Western Australia. The capital is Perth, and Perth has a population of 2 million people. The whole of Western Australia, the largest state, is 2.7 million people. And Western Australia is a fabulous state. You can actually arrive here by the Indian Pacific, or you'd fly across. In Perth, you would do a little guided walking through tour in the city itself, and also take in Kings Park as well. Kings Park is this fabulous native park of plants and fauna and flora. It's just a fabulous spot to wander through. From here, we then head down to the Freo, to Fremantle, and take in the local cuisine, the colonial past, and head to the Freo market and maybe down to the waterfront and taste some of the great seafood. It's from Freo that we'd actually head across to Rottnest Island. Yeah, they kind of shorten everything over here in West Australia, put an O on the end, Rotto, Freo. It's here on Rottnest Island. You can actually stay if you wish, or you can perhaps just do a day trip, grab yourself a little bike and cycle around the island. The big attraction here is the friendliest marsupial in the world, the quokka. They smile when they eat, they smile when they sleep. They just love to smile, and they love getting selfies. The quokka's on the left-hand side. So you can get across here and get a selfie with a quokka, and then from Perth, you can also get on that Swan River and go up to the Swan Valley wineries and savour some of the great product they have here. Or you can head south down to Margaret River, a very popular spot again for some wonderful wine tasting, food, and they've also got gourmet weekends. Going east from here, you'll meet up with Wave Rock, looks like a petrified wave. Going north, you'll head up the Pinnacles, and then further north from there, Ningaloo Reef on the Coral Coast, where you'll actually walk into the water and the reef will be right in front of you. And it's here that you can actually go swim with whale sharks. So it's a fabulous spot to swim with whale sharks. Further north, we've got the Cable Beach just outside of Broome. And from Broome here, you can get a little bit of a camel ride on Cable Beach. When you go north of here, you are basically heading into this area where you've got some amazing adventures. You've got the horizontal waterfalls. You've got the bungles. This area is considered Australia's last frontier. And the best way to access it is by small ship Kimberley cruising up through this area from Broome around to Darwin in the top end. And then we head to Queensland. Brisbane is the capital, 2.5 million people, and Queensland's population of 5 million. And that southeast Queensland section has quite a lot to offer. Brisbane city touring through here. You've got the Brisbane River meandering through. You've got all these little restaurant precincts to go and save a great fare. It's very Australian. It's like a big Australian country town, Brisbane. You can actually go to the Lone Pine Koala Sanctuary, taking the Brisbane River on the Miramar will take you up to go and cuddle koala. You can also go and feed wild dolphins at Tangalooma, or go south to the Gold Coast and do a little surfing. This is Australia's holiday playground. Lots of Aussies come here on vacation. You want to meet Aussies? This is the place to do it. And they are a lot of fun when they're having fun. There's also running parallel with this is the Lamington National Park. This wonderful wetland, this wonderful rainforest hinterland area. You can go to the Gold Coast hinterland and perhaps stay up here overnight to take in the incredible bushwalking and birding that can be done through here. Going north of there, you've got the Sunshine Coast, which you've got some great markets, the Monday markets. You can drop in and meet the Irwins at the Australia Zoo. You can also head up to Noosa. Now, Noosa's, again, a little great holiday playground. Aussies love to come here. Beautiful beaches, great surfing. You can head out to the right there, you'll head out to the Noosa Heads and walk amongst koalas, where the little rivers there you can see is actually out to the Noosa Everglades. The Everglades, it's full of melaleuca, full of birds and plants, and it's just phenomenal. Going north of here, we head up to Hervey Bay, where you can go whale watching, and right here in Hervey Bay is this beautiful, the world's largest sand island, Fraser Island, where you can stay at Kingfisher Bay Resort. And from here, the world's largest sand island has these fabulous lakes like Lake Mackenzie. The water here is so crystal clear, it's just phenomenal. Your feet squeak when you walk through the sand, and here you'll find the most pure strain of dingo in the world here, the native Australian dog, the dingo. Going north of there, you've got Cairns, and Cairns was where the Daintree Wilderness Rainforest collides with the Great Barrier Reef. Cairns itself is this wonderful city. It's got such a vibe to it. In fact, it's got a fabulous restaurant scene, and the Ochre restaurant is actually run by a mate of mine, Craig Squire, who does a fabulous job with Indigenous foods and puts on a great spread. But some great restaurants found here. There's also the opportunity, of course, to get out to the Great Barrier Reef. A number of vessels we can actually suggest, and you'll find your travel advisor will be the best one to guide you here. You can head out with Quicksilver. It will take you out to a pontoon. You've got semi-submersibles, glass-bottom boats. There's an underwater viewing platform, but of course you can also go snorkeling and you can go diving. It's definitely a diver's paradise. And for those that are serious about diving, we'd recommend doing a 2 to 4 day dive trip out on a liveaboard dive experience. Now, another popular tour out of Cairns is the Kuranda Rail that takes you up through about a dozen hand-hewn tunnels past spectacular waterfall in season up to the township of Kuranda. Now, Kuranda was a haven for hippies. These hippies have become capitalists. They're selling some great souvenirs. There's also rainforestation up here to meet the Palmagiri Aborigines. There's all sorts of activities you can have here in Kuranda. Coming back from there, though, I'd take the Kuranda Sky Rail back. This takes you over the canopy of the rainforest. You get a chance to take in the view and vista. You also get a chance to see the Ulysses butterflies, these turquoise blue butterflies flapping their wings over the rainforest. Speaking of flapping their wings, you'll find them through here too. On the Tully River, you'll find those lovely turquoise blue Ulysses butterflies flapping their wings all through here. The rafting on the Tully is truly a lot of fun. Or you can take to the air in a hot air balloon up over the tablelands. It's a great way to start your day. Now, from here, we head down to the Whitsundays. This island group is sensational, and it's a nice way to, I think, finish up this presentation. Staying on a tropical island like Hamilton Island, for example, which offers 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, and luxury in the form of qualia. From here, of course, you can use as a base to head out to the Great Barrier Reef. You can go swimming at Heart Reef, quite a romantic thing to do for those honeymooners. You can do a little reef sleep on the Great Barrier Reef too. So you can come out to a pontoon on a day trip, but rather than come back, you can stay there. Stay there, have a lovely little, lovely canapes and cocktails. Everyone else is gone. You've left it to yourself, and there you are out there snorkeling and taking in this fabulous reef at night. It means when you wake up in the morning, you've got it all to yourself. You can also stay out in the reef by sailing. You can do a little safari in the Whitsundays on boats, and be it a day trip or an overnight trip. It's a great way to take in the Whitsundays. Also staying on a lovely Great Barrier Reef luxury island escape, perhaps like the Intercon Hayman Island, a divine spot to raise a glass at the end of your Australian escape and toast a finish to a fabulous vacation. Now, in starting your vacation, you need to tell your travel advisor a bit about yourself. I mean, who is going and when are you going? And all those questions you'll find are listed on a little travel planner. So all you need to do now is fill out the travel planner, tick all the attractions and activities that interest you, and make sure you send it back to your travel advisor. Your travel advisor is the one that's going to bring it all together. The fun is in the planning, so start now and call your travel advisor and let the fun begin. I mean, they'll even go as far as helping you pack. Well, you can't really take one of those with you, but I wanted to say, guys, thank you very much. On behalf of our travel advisor mates, we really appreciate you taking the time, and I wish you all the very best for your travels down under. Here's cheers and bye for now.